Okay, good evening, everyone. Time is 6:02. This is an instructional committee meeting of the Board of Trustees of United ISD. Today is Tuesday, October the 12th, 2021. We are present in the Student Activity Complex, room number 2, Fine Arts Building, Laredo, Texas. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee,
Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. All right. Item number 2, any public comments?
Not at this time, sir, no.
Okay. Item number 3, items to be reviewed for information only. Number 1, timeline for renewal of District of Innovation Plan.
It's been 5 years, believe it or not. 2016 was our first District of Innovation. So we bring before you, for everyone who is present, an overview of the information with regards to the District of Innovation and the plans that we want to go. So we can go to the PowerPoint, please. Thank you. So we're looking at the overview, some requirements, the proposed timeline, the exemptions that we're proposing, and of course some of the committee members that comprise the committee, which is the District Advisory Committee. So first of all, what is a District of Innovation? I pass that packet to you all. House Bill 1842 allows Texas public schools who have continuously maintained an acceptable academic rating as defined by the Texas Education Agency to receive exemptions, which we call flexibilities, typically reserved for open enrollment charter schools in curriculum, instruction, governance, parent-community involvement, the calendar, and budget by becoming a District of Innovation. So we became a District of Innovation back in 2016. We'll run through the process through March of 2022. So we want to start the process for the renewals of our eligibility for that. In order to continue as a District of Innovation, we would have to maintain the academic acceptable rating and the financial accountability rating as well. That has to be acceptable. And then you all would have to look at, as a Board of Trustees, a committee appointed by the Board of Trustees to develop the plan in accordance with the statutory requirements.
Do we have a committee now?
Yes, sir. It's in your packet. So we have the timeline. In August and September, we have reviewed some of those particular items. Today, we present to the board our plan to renew the DOI status. And then tomorrow, we can send the letter to the commissioner, which is the first required notification to TEA. October 14th, which is Thursday, we meet with the District Advisory Committee that you will appoint today to identify the exemptions and review local district policies affected by those exemptions. On November 4th, we will meet once again with the DAC to finalize the DOI renewal plan, and then we'll present to the management and the leadership teams drafts of the DOI plan. By December 2nd, we'll finalize the plan, the DOI plan with the DAC, and they in turn will vote for within the DAC themselves to approve the District of Innovation plan that we develop. We will send the policies to the attorneys for review. By December 15th, at the December regular board meeting, we will present the plan to you all. December 16th, we'll post our innovation plan on the district website for at least 30 days. Send the commissioner notice of approval of the plan and of course, meet all other TA requirements so that once they don't approve, but once you approve, we can operate on a DOI. Currently, just to remind you all, our current exemptions are the calendar uniform start date, which is we don't have to start the last week of August. We can have that flexibility. We have the teacher certification requirements for CATE and dual enrollment programs, the minimum attendance for students, and then we have the campus behavior coordinator. Some of the items that we have discussed with cabinet and leadership are the following: the kindergarten start age, discipline for students under the age of 10. Currently, the law does not allow us to place a student in grade below third in out-of-school suspension, so we are looking at that. school day interruptions, and then the ejection of individuals from facilities. Those are some of the items that we're looking at, and we may have a few others that once we meet with the committee that we'll propose those individual items that we can be exempt from. The committee member will consist of 58 campus personnel, 28 district level personnel members, 10 parent and community members, and so we'll be meeting with them. Our first meeting will be Thursday. This will be a live meeting here in one of the rooms. And the committee members are noted in your packet that I presented to you. Okay? So that is basically my information with regards to DOI. Just want to let you know that we are moving forward with the renewal process. All right?
We don't need to vote on this, just information.
Yes, sir. I think you need to approve the committee members, sir, if I'm not mistaken.
So we could put that for Wednesday?
Yes, sir.
Because there's 2 committee members missing from Troutman and United Middle Schools, both of them.
Yes, sir.
They're not,
They're not listed. Some are still noting their names down, and some have already called to RSVP. We have about 90 people coming in on Thursday.
okay. And the meeting's at what time?
2:30.
Oh, wow. You're going to pull out a lot of people for classes. Okay. Number 2, GT assessment adjustments, 2021, 2022.
Good evening, Mr. Montemayor, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Gonzalez, and members of the audience. I just wanted to give you an update on what's going on with our GT program and how we select students and what they have to go through in order to be able to be part of the program. So the first component is Slide 1. It pretty much gives you an idea of what assessments we're using. Pretty much we're now using the COGAT Abilities Test screening form to screen the students for in kindergarten. And that is essentially three tests that last from 30 to 40 minutes. Then we give them the COGAT Abilities Test, the full test, which is nine tests. Takes about 90 to 120 minutes. And then we also use the Naglieri Nonverbal Ability Test. And this one has pictorial directions for the diverse student population. This is about 40 items, 30 minutes. And this is just the component for assessing the students. On the next slide, we have the reasoning behind what we had to do because of what happened last year with COVID, and then this year continuing with some of those adjustments, as well as the new GT state plan. We did replace the Good Enough Harris drawing test for the kinder students, and we replaced it with a COGAT screener. We also increased the point values for eligibility criteria to raise the standard for program eligibility from 12 to 14 for kinder points, and from 15 to 17 points for first through 11 graders. And this is the reason behind it, is so that we can include students who are ready to engage, and also to minimize program furloughs based on academic performance. And then the last one is that we're utilizing the H percentile rank instead of the grade percentile rank for matrix calculation, so that we can get a more accurate and equitable measure comparing students of the same age instead of using grade level, and that way, we won't give other students an advantage, for example, the summer babies, which have spent less time in school. So that's the whole reasoning behind that. On the next slide, these changes are in accordance with EHBB local policy and legal, the Texas State Plan for the Education of Gifted and Talented Students, and our assessment process will continue to include both objective and subjective measures as required by law. And the changes are reflected in the revised program guide that I included for you to review at your own time. Thank you.
Quick question. So your GT, let me go back to your presentation. The GT for middle schools, okay, is that considered an advanced course? Okay. The reason I'm asking is are you in any way tuned into the STEM process as well? I'm having issues with how the STEM process is working out, and I understand that there's been a push to make those courses designated advanced courses instead of being in the STEM umbrella. I know Ms. Morales is here, but she kind of pioneered that here. So if there is a change, is that going to fall into the work in tune with your GT program?
Well, currently the STEM program falls under the middle school executive director. So as soon as they pretty much give me some input in reference to whether they're going to continue overseeing it or is it going to be our department, then we'll be able to come up with more guidelines.
Because just even on the professional development aspect of it, your STEM teachers just kind of float around, because there's no, whether you're science, reading, math, there's no professional development for these teachers. And so if it's going to change, and at the same time, it's not your fault, I'm just
Sure.
just echoing my thoughts. And so at the same time, if there's no flow through to the 8th grade or to the high schools, I'm not sure if it's in the best interest of our district to continue doing that. So I kind of just pose the question in general.
And they go through specialized training, and I believe
They do.
Ms. Lessa and Ms. Morales had a meeting with that organization that provides the training.
Yeah, it's a substantial
It's
investment.
very unique, yeah.
And there's no supplemental pay for them either. So nobody really wants to do it anyway.
No, there's no.
Because they lose, your science teachers, your math teachers, your reading teachers lose their supplemental pay to go into the STEM process. And they pay for their training a lot of times, and then there's no,
Yes.
anyway, okay. Just
Yes.
food for thought.
Thank you, sir.
But, all right, and then, number 3, bilingual program evaluation.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Mary Arambola. I'm the Director for Bilingual Ed. This evening, I'm presenting to you the annual bilingual review evaluation for the 2021 school year as required by Chapter 89. It must be presented before November the 1st. So on the first slide, continue going. I have the information for the reclassification of emergent bilingual students, and that there was an impact this school year with regards to the pandemic. TEA last year, at the end of last year, extended the window to reclassify students to the first 60 days of the new school year because of the impact of COVID. So the window for testing students will be changing the percentage that you see there, because we are testing all the way to October the 15th. So there will be an update on the percentage of students that will be reclassified for this school year. We continue on with the next slide, and we see our TELPA's results, that although we were in a virtual setting last year, our students were very successful. We had about 86% of them that participated in the test, and with that, we were above the region and the state with a 47% garnered on the TELPA's scores. We continue on with our EL Star progress for all the departments, for bilingual early transition, for dual, for ESL. We monitor our current ELs, and we continue monitoring our students for year 1 through 4, and the results are listed there for approaches, meets, and masters. Our graduation rate, we monitor our students and our cohorts for 2020, 2019, and a continuous slide with 2018, and we see that there's a slight variation between our regular students and our ELs with regards to graduation, but it's still high enough so where the students are being successful. We continue on with the professional development that was offered last school year, and even though we were in a virtual setting, we still offered several sessions to support our teachers in the classroom, and some of the sessions are listed there for your review. As far as participation rate, although we were virtual, we still have a lot of teachers that logged in and tuned in with us after school during planning periods and attended the sessions. We had a total of, in elementary, a total of 85 sessions that took place for the regular content teachers. Professional development classroom teachers with students that are English learners, we had 1,386, and of those, we had 57 teacher aides participate. At the middle school, we had 946 classroom teachers participate for the content areas, and from there we had 39 that specifically work with English language learners. At the high school level, we had 1,029 participants, 43 sessions offered. 69 of those teachers were exclusive to students with English language that were English language learners. This school year, we are currently working on the exception and waiver, as we still have some teachers that are missing certification for bilingual or ESL, both at the elementary and at the secondary level, and that application will be submitted November the 1st. The results from last year, we had an impact as to the number of teachers that were able to test, because there were limited sessions being offered across the state. Sessions because of COVID, they were not being offered at all. So in total, we only had for ESL 14 teachers that tested, 10 passed, 4 failed. BTLPT, we had 5 that tested, 3 passed, 2 failed. Bilingual supplemental, we had 1 that tested, and she failed. We did submit a total of 67 exceptions and 17 waivers. We did continue offering professional development throughout the year. All the sessions were virtual. The presenters are listed in there, and we offered the sessions for both BTLPT, bilingual, and also for ESL. Every year, we have to continue advising our parents how our English learners are doing in the classroom, so we do send notice to them when how the student is doing, how they're progressing in TELPAS and in STAR. In addition to that, we provide support to the classroom teacher with the accommodations that we provide for our English learners to make sure that they're being successful. And if we have teachers in the classroom serving students that are English language learners and not certified, we're also obligated to inform the parents of that. Every year, our campuses submit a campus improvement plan, letting them know how the students, what the campus is doing to support our students, our English language learners, through our new Plan for Learning campus improvement plan that is now available to all of them, and now everybody does it within the computer, and it's safe for everybody to see. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Before we adjourn, Mr. Gonzalez, I know there was some changes to your special ed program. Can you give us an update? Where y'all at on that, ma'am? Did you go instructional and then compliance, or did
Yeah,
you?
there's two areas. One is compliance, Sub-Director under Claudia Guzman, and everything that has to do with instruction specifically, in the Los Santos and special ed. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I see them both here. Congratulations to both of y'all. I haven't had the opportunity to congratulate you.
There's one more item.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, the low attendance waiver.
Actually,
Well, we
there's
have
one
two.
more. I
One
think
more
it went to the other
informational.
page on the Senate bill, information for
15.
virtual learning.
I've got items B for individual consideration, approval of low attendance day waiver. Did I miss
Yes, sir.
something?
We're presenting a waiver for United South High School, sir, for September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. The attendance, September 22nd was 71%, September 23rd, 39%, and September 24th, 47%. And this was due,
To the threat?
it was attributed through the threats or violence. So we knew that this was coming. I am pending one more waiver to present to you all, and that was the August 30th waiver to present to you all. There was various campuses that have, we're still crunching some numbers there, that had, it was after the quarantine period that we're going to have at several campuses, and so that affected our attendance that particular day as well.
Have you, have any questions?
No questions, sir.
Has anybody experienced any pushback on the masks now that there's no mandate in force? Have y'all experienced anything?
Not pushback, sir. I mean, it's the
And we
first.
were encouraging it. It
We're
just-
still wearing, we're still showing, and so the students are, from what I understand from the principals, they, day one, the majority of the students were wearing it. Day two, they're easing up a little bit, sir, especially after lunch periods. So they're wearing them under the higher grade students, under their chin. They're wearing them throughout the day, but after lunch, they walk around without them. So we don't say anything to them, but I mean, we still encourage our employees and everybody else to wear the masks.
Are we still doing the vaccinations?
Yes, sir. We have one more clinic this week on Friday, and so we're still promoting those. And of course, we're waiting for CDC to approve, the feds to approve the 5 to 11 vaccine, and we're ready to go with that. We have 3 sites. We're ready to go from one day to the next once they tell us the go-ahead, sir. Thank you.
We do have one last one.
Yes,
please.
Mr. Montemayor, there was one more informational item on Senate Bill
Senate Bill
15.
I think it went to the second page. I'm not sure if it's at the top. Or maybe it was cut off on the copy.
I'm feeling really lost right now, but I don't have it on my paper. But okay, well, let's do it if you have.
And this is just bringing you information on the decision that we've reached for virtual learning based on our data that we've reviewed, the meetings that we've had with principals. So we knew that there was criteria for students to be able to participate in virtual learning. This is different from what we're doing with the remote conferencing. We have to include a grade that is STAR tested. The students must still come into the campus to do 40% of their science curriculum in a hands-on lab setting. They must have passed STAR. They must have met 90% of attendance last year. They must have gotten a 70 or better in their content areas last year. They must have access to in-person learning. If we were to offer it, then they could only have up to 10 unexcused absences in a 6-month period, and they must still come into the campus to take any district and/or state assessments, because we have to keep the assessments, authentic for the students. In the teacher side, the teachers must be appropriately certified for the grade level and the content that is being offered. They must voluntarily accept. There's no concurrent instruction. They must periodically assess the student progress. They must participate in teacher training for remote instruction or virtual instruction. And we must continue to maintain that 22-to-1 ratio for any teacher that is below 5th grade. At the district requirements, we must provide GT education, compensatory ed education. There's a limit of only 10% of the current enrollment for the district. Any students that are in remote conferencing that are above the 50% time of the school year would also be part of that 10%. The state would be allowing us to use synchronous, asynchronous, or a hybrid on-campus, at-home learning. So there's flexibility. If the ART approves, we must provide the free and appropriate public education for our students in special ed. Bilingual program goals must be met. And then the district does have the right to remove a student with proper communication to parents. The accountability comes back without regard to COVID. So the campuses would still be accountable, and then they would also provide accountability on virtual instruction. The board must approve any program that we put out there for virtual instruction. We must take attendance daily, and it must be on-camera attendance. So, we had to make sure that the students were there physically, virtually, right, at their site. And then if we provided asynchronous, we would have to post the plan. Now, we'd like to share with you some of the data that we have. Now, because we know that we brought in the students for STAR testing last year at the end of the year, we took that data and matched it with a beginning of year assessment that we provided district-wide from grades 4 and up. And for current 4th graders, they took what was a 3rd grade end of year assessment. And as we're looking at our data, after only 4 weeks of in-person instruction, we saw some significant gains. And that, again, it's because the hands-on learning is there, the teachers are there providing immediate feedback, redirecting students. So when we looked at our reading and our math, in some cases we gained above 10% points of students getting to the meets and at the master's level. Our math was a little bit lower, but regardless, we did see some gains there. We also had meetings with our principals, and they have been working diligently to make sure that the safety is there, that the instruction is there, that our students are also provided that social and emotional component daily so that they can be able to cope with what has happened this past year. So if we were to offer this, our students would also miss out on multiple opportunities. For example, engaging in peer learning activities, that social interaction, using the hands-on tactile material to be able to understand their learning. And then they would miss out on that teacher's immediate feedback or redirection for learning foundational concepts. And of course, re-engaging with the school culture and then coming back to some normalcy. I will tell you that when we had the doctor was going to quarantine, we heard from a lot of students that they were saying, we don't want to close the schools, we want to make sure we're there. So the students' voices are also being considered here. We talked to the principals, and they really believe that bringing the students to the in-person, that is where we need to be, so that our students can not only catch up, but they can move forward, with the next year's instruction. We do know that at least 2 large school districts are going back. They started with virtual, they're going back to in-person because it is a very big burden on the instructional staff, on the students, and it just is not the same as the in-person instruction. Again, TEA will reinstate accountability without regards to COVID. So we are back on accountability, we are back on student achievement and on student progress. And then campuses and districts that do not meet the minimum standards will then be held to those corrective actions. And then the most important thing is that students that do not meet that standard on any test that they take at the end of this year, they're going to have 30 hours of additional instruction throughout the year for every content area that they missed. So we're also looking at all of these factors. We also, again, like Ms. Rendon said, we're going to be providing those vaccines for students that are age 5 and 11 as soon as we get the approval. Those proactive actions that are taken at the campuses continue to mitigate that risk of spreading COVID. And then again, just coming back to, we continue to provide the remote conferencing right now for the students that do have temporary medical conditions. We've already submitted over 50 waivers. They are being approved by the state, so we are able to meet the needs of those students that have medical conditions that would, keep them from attending in-person learning. So based on all of that information, at this point, we are not recommending to offer a virtual program, aside from what we're doing with remote conferencing, and aside from what we're doing with the in-person learning with our teachers and our administrators, providing the best instruction that we can, just as we have in the past. And I just wanted to mention one more thing, is that this is the Principals Month, and they have been working diligently to provide all of these factors for our students to be able to enrich their learning, provide that safe environment. So we want to continue to support all of their efforts.
Sounds good.
We're making that recommendation next week.
Can you make sure it gets into the Friday packets for the
Yes.
board
Yes.
members?
Yes,
please?
we will.
Yes.
Sir.
And so that way we can, just on that note, how is the enrollment coming along? I know we were down about 3,000 at one point. I don't know. It's been a couple of weeks since we've talked about
The
it.
last number that I saw was 2,600.
Okay. So
Okay,
it's
so
been going
I'm
up.
not sure if that's been.
Yeah, it's pretty-
Yes.
pretty accurate.
Okay.
And every day we get 2 or 3 more students because, the parents are understanding that this is the best learning environment for them.
All right. And
Thank you.
when's your Parent Learning Summit? It's November 13th. Okay. I saw an email about that, so I just, okay. Any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Okay. Well, we're adjourned on the instruction. Thank you.